that, I transitioned into bartending part-time and then doing real estate part-time. So I kind of like left one, transitioned back into a part-time job so I could start doing real estate and get that ball rolling. Two of my first three deals I did in real estate are people I met sitting at my bar. And it was just random. One was like a guy I had seen come in the bar quite a bit. Another one, it was a couple who had randomly stopped in. We'd never been here before. We just wanted to grab a snack and a beer and talk to them, and ended up listing their condo for them.
Hi, I'm Carla Higgins, and this is the Double Duty Agent Podcast. I am so glad you're here. Each week we get together and we explore the stories of successful double duty real estate agents. And from their stories, you can find the solutions to overcoming your challenges and the keys to unlocking your success. Are you ready? Let's get started. Welcome, Vince. I am so excited you're here. Oh my gosh, you guys are in for a real treat today. I have Vince OKonsky with me today, and he is double duty all over the place. So started out as a double duty agent, transitioned to full-time real estate, and now he is a double duty dad. That's an extra D there, double duty dad. A double duty dad is 3. So he's got lots of tips and tricks to help you figure out how to fit everything into your busy schedule. So Vince, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here, and I cannot wait to learn more about your story. Let's get started at the beginning.
Sure,
like
absolutely.
The real estate beginning.
So the real estate beginning was I got licensed in 2015. So at the time of this podcast, I'm just about 9. I'm 9 years in, 9 and change. It had always been an interest of mine, like a lot of people that get in. I was very interested in just like some of the freedoms that it provided, a little bit more flexibility in the schedule. I've also had a large interest in the investing side of real estate too, which is one of the main factors that drove me to get into real estate. So that was one of the things that pulled me in. And I was, prior to real estate, I was a district manager for a retail company, and it was just very, very time, energy consuming. It's not the path I wanted to be on. So I kind of let that pull of real estate just kind of suck me in because I wanted a transition. So, I had one of those days where you just kind of, you go home, you sit on the couch and you're like, all right, cool. It's time to do something I more want to do, not just doing something because I'm good at it. I was like, all right, started doing some research. I, went through like everybody with a license does, I did like the hybrid classes, half in a classroom, half online, did it at nights, blah, blah, blah. I got licensed in 2015 and, learned really quickly that, as much as this can be a very fun and lucrative business, it's not necessarily easy. I live in the greater St. Louis area. I'm not originally from here, so I don't have like family here where it's like, oh, I got my license and I listed my uncle's house. I kind of started with a very blank slate of, hey, you got to figure this out. So I kind of slow rolled part-time for the first couple of years and then eventually got to the point to make that transition to full-time.
Okay, a couple things there. First of all, you hit a couple of limiting beliefs that I bet some of our listeners have, and one of them we all know, which is we don't have enough time. But the other one that you mentioned, I know this happens to a lot of people that get into real estate and they say, "Hey, put everyone that you know in a database and start calling them and asking them, who do you know that wants to buy or sell real estate?" And you didn't have people to put in your database to call, so you had to start. I love the blank canvas image that you created, because the best paintings are created on blank canvases, right?
That's true. At least the ones that get recognized.
Exactly. All right. And we've heard this story again and again, to be in life, what they wanted to do, their investment of their time, their energy, and their money, that wasn't working for them. So that's where you were on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think especially depending on what kind of background someone comes from, my average work week was 75 hours. I got to see my now wife, but fiance at the time, I got to see her a couple days a week because I was constantly traveling or buried in work. And, at some point you realize, like, as much as a lot of people really love their job, they love to work, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love to work in a lot of facets. I also love life, and I realized as time was going on, that shift was less and less like my life, my hobbies, my friends and experiences I wanted to do, and that was one of the big driving factors. I was like, I went through a stint. I didn't see my fiance or my dog for 3 days, and I got home and I was just like, oh,
Wow.
man, this is I'm ready for something new, and it kind of just sparked me to take action.
I love that. And so you had a big purpose. You had a big reason pulling you forward. So you started out part-time. So you're
Mhm.
working 75-hour a week job and real estate, or is there another transition in there?
So there's another transition in there. Once I got my license, I started interviewing at brokerages, kind of the same path everyone takes. I left my corporate job. I just kind of got to a point where I was like, I've got to pull the plug, and this will force me to do something, which is it's a very scary thing to do, especially when for the most part, a lot of people only know that kind of W-2, I get paid every week or 2 weeks or whatever, to saying, nope, I'm just going to dive in and figure it all out and hope I can make it. And so it's a scary transition. So when I left the corporate retail world, younger in my youth, I'd spend a little time behind a bar, working restaurants, bartending, and I kind of just fell into an opportunity to get behind a bar again. And I was like, fantastic. I can balance this. I can bartend at nights. I can work during the day. I'm one of those people who doesn't sleep a lot, no matter what. So, and I've had several people ask me like, oh, like, well, how do you get home at 2 in the morning and then still wake up at 8 or 9? I'm like, you just train your body to do it, I suppose. But yeah, so I left that. I transitioned into bartending part time and then doing real estate part time. So I kind of like left one, transitioned back into a part time job so I could start doing real estate and get that ball rolling.
I love that as a plan. And I love that as a plan for so many reasons. One is you don't want to have that stress about money. We have bills that we have to pay. And we know that real
Yeah,
estate is going to take, well, what we do today is our money 90 days from now at best, right? So we have to make sure we have that cushion. But more importantly, oh my gosh, you're a bartender. You're talking to people all the time. And I think that's a
yeah.
great part-time job with real estate because you're getting paid to lead generate. Literally. Like,
A little bit, yeah. And and I can be completely honest. My two of my first three deals I did in real estate are people I met sitting at my bar. And it was just random. One was like a guy I had seen come in the bar quite a bit. Another one, it was a couple who had randomly stopped in. We've never been here before. We just wanted to grab a
ah,
snack and a beer and talk to them, and ended up listing their condo for them.
they came there
So
just to meet you, they didn't know it.
they had no idea. Just yeah, the
Yeah.
fates aligned, and everything turned out nice and beautiful, and absolutely great people. I actually resold that same condo 2 years ago when they moved out of state for a job, when the wife did. So I actually that one transaction over enough years, it actually turned into two, which was awesome.
And that's
Yeah,
because you kept in contact with them. You did a good job
and
staying in contact with
Right,
them.
and that's honestly, it's one of the hardest parts of this line of work. Or, I mean, and I guess that kind of goes for any type of thing that has a sales marketing flow to it. But staying in contact with your past clients or just any contacts, it's one of those things that's so simple that it's difficult. And a lot of agents really struggle with it. And I've been in this almost 10 years now, and I can say I'm not a master of it by any means. It's something I'm still working on. And I think sometimes people get so wrapped up in the weeds of I need to do all these little new hot, shiny, bright things of what's happening that they totally forget. It's like, are you doing the basics?
The basics, yeah.
And having to kind of build my database from scratch from the start. I mean, because I had lived in the St. Louis area for a couple of years at this point, but I had a couple friends, work acquaintances, things like that. But it wasn't like, oh, I went to school here, I have family here. So I built what I could, but a lot just turned into, hey, can you like go make friends and find clients? And which was a lot easier, pre kids. I can,
Mhm.
absolutely. But yes, just trying to work with what you've got. And I think a big part of it is being just realistic in where you're at the moment. Um, over the years in this industry, agents, even though unless you work strictly on like a very tight knit team, we're kind of on our own ship sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people on their own ship, they don't come into dock to actually talk to other professionals as often as a lot of others do.
Love that
And,
analogy.
you know, to each their own on that. I kind of go in waves with mine. I'll be like, I'll network and connect with a lot. And then I'm like, I'm just doing my own thing for this long. So I go back and forth, but it's there's an art to it, and there's definitely an importance to it, because you can learn so much, but you can learn so much from other people. And my first couple of years in, I spent my first not long. My first brokerage, I was there about 6 months. It took me almost 6 months to close my first deal in real estate. So that first, and right about that time, I got like that first deal and going, like I was on the verge of like, did I make a bad choice? Like, is this like, I'm kind of a risk taker by naturally, but like, is like, am I doing something silly here? Like, is this smart? And, and then kind of once you start getting it rolling, it becomes much more fun. In the short of it, it's definitely a balance, trying to figure out how to get started while doing something else, figuring out those goals, how to achieve them, because real estate is such an industry of bright and shiny objects and buy leads here, do this, lead gen these 700 ways, that it can be, and the amount of training that you can find initially as well in real estate is, it's just a absolute fire hose of information.
No
And
kidding.
knowing,
You could be a
uh,
full-time student, right? It's not gonna
yeah, I
pay
mean,
very well, but you could be a full-time student.
I think there's plenty of people out there that would love to be a full-time student for their whole life. That's not me. But there's definitely so much to learn, and it's easy to get bogged down in that. And for the first like 6 to 12 months, I somewhat did. And once I finally felt like I had that grasp, and I was like, I can, I had to shift my mindset more so to, instead of feeling like I need to know everything before I do it, I need to take action and then make sure I have the right people around me where I can ask those questions when I do hit my roadblocks. Was one of the big transitions for me in real estate was realizing how important, even after all my years in corporate management, how much more important it was to have the right people around you, even if it's not like a day-to-day hold your hand, but just somebody you, a lot of people talk about the term mentor, and I feel like realistically, a true mentor is something that's very hard to find. A boss is not always a mentor. A mentor is not always a good one. But at least finding people that you enjoy, you communicate well with, and you respect what they're doing personally and professionally, where you trust them if you ask them a question, that you're actually going to abide by what they're sharing with you. And even just having one or two of those people in your life can really make a difference. From, hey, this roadblock that about derailed me, I just had to go ask the right person the right question, and that kind of helped me move forward, because it's this is a business where it's very easy to stagnate, and that's one of the hardest things for a lot of agents to overcome, is writing. It can be a roller coaster business, especially if you're a solo agent.
Not a fun
But
roller coaster.
sometimes sometimes it can be not fun at all.
Not a
So
fun one.
but having those right people around you, or just a couple people that you look up to, I think is an insanely valuable part of real estate. And it took me a couple years in the business to kind of be able to figure out the people that act like they want to help, and then the people that you can actually trust. And
It really will. They have the time and the space. Some people have good
yeah.
intentions.
Yeah, and there's plenty of people out there that have a wealth of knowledge, who have built fantastic businesses, who are making tons of money. They're living whatever life by design they love, but they're living their life by design, and sinking time into somebody they just met just doesn't fit that. And it may not be that they're not willing, they're just unable. And I think you have to also be respectful of that as well.
Yeah, you're not part of their life by design. Okay, let's go back. Let's unpack that a little bit. Okay,
Sure.
so first of all, let's talk about. So you talked about your database and communicating with your database, and you were
Mhm.
lead generating. I know, while you were working at the bar. What else were you doing to build your database?
I started with the most, honestly, with the most basic brass tacks. I went through my every contact I had on my cell phone. Anybody who lived within an hour drive of me, I reached out to. Even just for most of it, I just shot him a text message. Hey, been a while. Like, miss you. Hopes all well with you and the family. Blah blah blah. Letting you know, hey, I made this change, and if you guys are ever in the market to do ABC, I'd love to like buy. Let's go have a coffee or a drink, and we can sit down and chat about your goals, because I'd really love to help you. And you do always get a lot of those people like, oh, okay, sure. Oh, okay, sure. But it gave me at least like a handful of people that are like, oh, maybe at the end of the year, maybe next year. Ooh, we're going to start a family and we're going to have to look in a year or two. And it just gave me a little bit of a base. I did initially for lead generation, I did a ton of open houses. Open houses were a huge thing. I know some people consider them very old school. I can promise you that I don't find open houses to be the most enjoyable thing to do always, but I've had good success with them. And a lot of the clientele I probably got in my first 2 years in the business, a lot of that was based on open houses. And a bulk of my business now from lead generation is like recurring referral. I've never been a huge advocate of like, hey, don't go dump a bunch of money into leads. A lot of people buy leads. There's nothing wrong with that. I played with it a little bit and had a little bit of success, but for the most part, it's just getting out there. Open houses. When I'd have an open house, when I was younger, had more energy. I would go door knock and leave flyers in the whole neighborhood for the open house. Like a lot of if you put the right effort and plan into an open house, they can be very productive. That was a big part of my lead gen. And then just like I said, keeping those simple, like the simple must-dos at the foundation of a business. I did a lot of open houses. I offered to with more experienced agents in the offices I've worked in, saying, "Hey, if let me co-list this with you." There was even a few transactions early on. I asked to co-list, and I was like, "I don't even want a payment. Like I don't need a referral fee. I don't want to take any of your money. I just want my name on the listing, so that way in the future when I go
What a
sit
great
down to
idea.
have a listing, I have a listing presentation, I can say I was involved in these transactions. They took this long to sell. Here's some of the like the marketing and one of the steps I did as part of as a partnership with this other agent to get this done. And I use that as a strategy to honestly just kind of get some clout, for the
Oh,
lack of better
Vince, I
words.
love that. I have to tell you, I've been coaching for 4 years. I have never had anybody. That is a brilliant idea. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. Let's unpack that in a way that somebody else could take action on that. Okay,
Sure.
so you go to an agent in your office and you say, "Hey, I see you're just killing it on listings and I would like to learn how to do what you do. Can I co-list one with you?" Now, you don't have to pay me. I just want to see everything that you do. And then I want to be
Yeah.
able to go out and say, "Hey, I co-listed this deal." And I can put it on my social media and now I get that recognition that people see that I am doing the business. Is
Yeah.
that kind of the gist of it?
That's basically the gist. Yeah. So I had initially I had a few agents that I did this with, and it kind of ended up taking two paths. One was essentially what you just said, where it's just like, hey, almost like, can I just shadow you? Don't pay me. I'm not going to try to bother you, but let me, as much as you'll let me be involved, just let me watch and learn and be there. And I'll do the open houses. You need to go change signs. I'll run over there. The lockbox is broken. I'll drive over there and swap it. I'll do some of this, the task
Leverage
for
for them.
you.
Yeah.
And so many people, especially in real estate, that payment is strictly monetary. And for me, I was getting paid in at the time, and now granted, I didn't do this forever because we all do need and want to make money. But I was getting paid in experience, recognition, and things that I could build into a listing presentation, saying, "Hey, I've only been licensed for a year, but here's what I have firsthand been involved with." And I can show, and then because just to create a track record. Other people that were like, and I had some agents on the other side of it that said, "Hey, like, I don't have the time to shadow you. I'm not a good coach. I'm not a good teacher. I have, nothing to, and a lot of times I'd hear it's not that I don't want to teach you. I just don't have the time or means or the skill set." I'm like, "Hey, that's totally cool. How about I just like would make a list. Like I'll do your signs. I'll run open houses. I'll take the random calls you get off the internet for random unqualified buyers that you don't have the time to mess with. I'll handle a lot of that menial stuff for you. All I need is my name in that second position, and the only payment I want is a handshake." And I did that a handful of times, and it helped me once I started kind of trying to push to get more listings instead of just buyers. That was a way I kind of got my name out there a little bit more as well. And then when I did get in front of people, I had something more tangible to show them I had achieved in the business. I think that's one of the hard things for a new agent as well, is saying, "Hey, unless it's a family member or close friend,
Oftentimes I'm looking for a nugget, a golden nugget. This is not a golden nugget. This is a whole bar of gold. This is amazing because I can just see, and
Boom.
you know what? Even if the listing agent says, you've given them all that opportunity, they can also go to their client and say, look at the goodwill that they could get from their client. I've got a new agent and I'm going to bring him along with me on this one just to help teach him. How is the client going to think of the listing agent? They're going to think, wow, you're awesome because you're training other agents and you're willing to do this for them. I mean, that is a win-win everywhere, all the way around. I love it. Love it. Oh, so
Absolutely, yeah,
good.
and I had the opportunity to like even just shadow during some listing presentations, and they're like, and the one thing I was told in those first handful of them was just they were just like let me introduce you and explain why you're here, and feel free to talk to them, be friendly, like, hey, this is a nice family, they're good people, but let me introduce you so they understand because I'm used to communicating with them. Like, hey, that
Yeah.
sounds fair. They're your
Oh,
clients. I'm going to do what you asked me to do. And there was times I've been like, hey, he's new or he's learning. There was one guy that he just liked to do it as a jab in the ribs. He liked to say I was his intern, or I got referenced as an intern or an assistant or something like that from time to time. And at the moment, I was like, I'm not mad at it because it's pretty true. I'm here to assist you, and you're paying me in knowledge. And that was a big sign. Now I asked plenty of experienced agents to do something like this, and a lot of them were just like, "Hey, thanks, man, but I can't, I don't want to, I don't have the
that's okay.
time," or
It's not
they
a good
thought I was gonna
fit.
like try to poach their business. It's not. If it's not a good fit, then it's not a good fit, and then it's, you move on to the next. But those were some of the ways I really got started. That and I don't have a huge social media following, but I did try to use. I'm not a huge social media person. If I wasn't in real estate, I probably wouldn't have it at all. One of those things. But utilizing social media to reach out, find people, drop some fun stuff here and there, and just try to create a little buzz and a little attention. And it's one of the easier ways to set that up. And as that list grows, just making sure that you're still contacting those people at least on some regular basis.
Yeah. Well, it's proof of concept, right? If somebody wants to go check you out, they're going to go look on Facebook and they're going to find you. And that's just a good thing to have, even if you're not going
Yeah,
to be actively using social media. I had somebody the other day tell me they didn't have a Facebook account. They were a brand new agent. And I was like, well, you're going to have one. Like, I don't know. We're just
yeah.
going to have one. We have to be there. Or otherwise, we run the risk of being a secret agent. And that's not cool.
And if you can build your business being a secret agent, then you go get them, James Bond.
It's okay. Yeah, it all works out. All right,
Absolutely.
Vince, this is so good. Okay, so we talked a little bit about your story to this point. The one thing we haven't talked about yet is what is going on in your world right now, because you are in another double duty phase, right?
I am absolutely. So earlier this year, we got to a point with just inflation in the world, and childcare costs are ridiculous, and
Crazy.
yeah, we had all three of our toddlers in full time, so we kind of wanted to take a step back and evaluate and say, hey, how can we reduce some expenses. And it also gave me an opportunity to spend more time with our kids, which has been so, like, it's exhausting. It's
Such
the
a
hardest job.
gift.
Stay-at-home parent, mom, dad, doesn't matter your gender. It's a hard job. It's a super hard job. I absolutely love it, but like I'm more exhausted at the end of the day now than I was when I was working 75 hours a week. But I am double duty now. So kids are in like a summer camp. So I've got my mornings free. That's when I work, do podcasts, connect with clients, do all that fun stuff. And then from about lunchtime on every day, I transition and just go into full time dad mode. And I'm still juggling a little bit of work in that, but it is it's definitely a juggle because like just because the kids aren't home and I'm working from home or I'm at the office or wherever it may be, it doesn't mean I'm not thinking or trying to prep for stuff for them. And on the vice versa, when I'm with my kiddos, sometimes I've got to think ahead and prep and plan and answer the phone for work. So it's a balance. It's a delicate balance. I'm by no means a master at it, but I'm getting better.
Well, it takes
And
10,000 hours to be a master of something. So, and your kids are all under the age of 4, so you have a while to get there.
yeah, I think the only thing I'm a master of now is chasing them around. That's maybe about
Oh
it.
my gosh. But Vince, what a gift. I mean, how many other professions could you decide to do this, still generate your same income and be able to spend that kind of time with your children and be double duty? That's just a gift. It's the gift of real
Honestly,
estate.
it really is, and and with that flexibility, I think what some people need to realize that are double duty is, with that more flexibility, it's very easy to let that flexibility get away from you and say, I'll just do it tomorrow. I don't have the time today. And I'm guilty of that as much as anybody else. And it is easy to like wake up on a Monday morning and then be like, I didn't really do a lot of income producing activities all of last week. Like, you've got to reality check yourself and say, hey, like, yeah, like my kids and family will always come first, but I'm still choosing to do this. I chose to do this double duty. This was intentional. And then some people out there, the choice is not intentional. It doesn't mean you can't attack it the same way. Like you do have to be really good with your time, and you've got to make good choices. And for me, a big part of it is the time. And I mean that you can drink enough coffee to get the energy, but you can't ever get back time.
Well, and
Um,
no sleep, right? Good thing since you have kids, you can do this now because someday you're gonna need sleep.
one of these days, and as the gray hairs are starting to come in, so I'm sure that day's close.
All
Uh,
right. Well, I love that you said that about choices. So let's do that. We always wrap up this way. We talk about choices. So thinking back on your almost 10 years in real estate, what do you think have been the most important couple of choices that you have made that have led to your success now?
I think probably the most important choices I've made have been to the choice to be intentional with who I surround myself with. I am a really, really big. I really believe in, like, you are some of the people that are around you.